As an independent music podcast, 101 Part-Time Jobs highly recommends DistroKid as the best solution to putting out your own music online. You can join 1 million other artists from all across the world putting out their own music on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and everywhere else across the DSPs where people are listening to your music. My dream as a kid was to run a small little label, and now with DistroKid, getting music out online is the easiest it ever has been, making 100% of your own royalties while paying a small annual fee. And that fee's even smaller as a 101 Part-Time Jobs listener. Head to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod to get 30% off your first year putting out your own music on DistroKid. Getting your own music out into the world has never been easier. Head to distrokid.com/VIP/101pod to get the best deal you can. Hey, how's it going? It's 101 Part-Time Jobs. I'm Giles Bidder, and it's my job to speak to bands and artists about how they're able to do it today, what goes round in their day-to-day life, as well as all the side jobs they've had. On today's episode, I speak with Hockey Dad from Australia, New South Wales. Their new album, Rebuild Repeat, came out recently, and it's a great listen. They've got a good energy to it. You can catch them on tour in the UK all through September with Ocean Alley. They're playing a bunch of massive shows, actually. 2 at the Roundhouse, one of them sold out. So you can catch them across the UK with Ocean Alley in September. This is 101 Part-Time Jobs. Cheers for listening. If you enjoy this episode, make sure you click subscribe or leave a review. That stuff's all really, really helpful. And if you're at 2000 Trees this weekend, I'll be interviewing Meryl Streak today at 4 p.m. and Problem Patterns tomorrow at 4 p.m. on the Word stage. So if you're at 2000 Trees, catch us there. All right, coming up after the jump is Hockey Dad. Cheers. 101 Part-Time Jobs.
When we started the band, I was 17, 18, Zach was 19, 20. We definitely had a lot more energy back then in terms of touring, writing. It was a proper rat race for about 6 years. And I feel like if we try to do that today, now that we're a little bit wiser and a bit more conservative of energy, I feel like we'd probably do ourselves in.
6 years is a long time.
I was going to say, yeah, that's a good point. I think as we're getting older, there's less actual physical energy. And I think you kind of have to be careful what you're putting your energy into, as opposed to when we started, everything's full ball and it kind of doesn't really matter. You've got the energy there. But now it's like, okay, I really got to focus on playing a good show, got to put some energy into that, put some energy in the studio. Be careful. You got to divvy out those calories that you're taking in and that workload. It gets harder.
Growing up and leaving school and being like, okay, what are the opportunities for me and the people around me? And it's like there's work and there's fun. But if you can put those two things kind of together, that's what it kind of sounds like. You know, you can take fun seriously.
Definitely. Yeah, I think we've learned how to do that gracefully over the years. I feel like, just the more, I don't know, we're super lucky, really. More just grateful and just you gotta enjoy it. It's pretty crazy. We're very lucky to be doing what we do. And I mean, most of the time it's fun, you know?
Yeah.
Can only count a couple of times where it's been a bit rough, but, you know.
What are the particular memories where you've learned something? And this shit's uncomfortable. Life is uncomfortable sometimes. That's how you grow. When you think back to those particular memories of Hockey Dad, where it's damn, that period of time was a lesson learned.
I think there's probably been a couple of shows where it's been, maybe a few too many beverages beforehand that I just have never let to live down. I think it's still in the back of my brain. That's a very big lesson. I don't know. I feel like we used to have to share beds, just like doing the grind. And I think like now when we have our own hotel room, I'm like, thank heavens that we've got to this point. Like,
not bad.
Yeah, definitely a lot of grinding moments.
That's living. That's high grade living right there.
Yeah.
Touring in Australia is a bit of a trip, isn't it? Because like a national tour, if you're doing the big cities, it's kind of 5-6 shows, but then there's a lot of distance between it, which is obviously nothing new to you. But I think even people living in the States, those journeys are pretty fucking big.
For sure.
I think that's why touring in the States is so much more fun, I think. Touring in Australia is like you do the show, between every show there's a guaranteed flight. Airports are just a nightmare all the time. So, I mean, like when you're in the States driving around, it's basically just driving and then it's back-to-back shows, you know. At home, it's more so you'll play on the weekends, you'll have a few days off like we're doing right now on this tour, and then back in on the weekends, fly out again, bit of FIFO work really. But when you're in America, you're really on the ground the whole time, traveling through, seeing the whole country a lot better. I feel bad for American bands that, like, you know, overseas bands that come down here and tour. They really just see like 4 or 5 airports and some venues. There's no real like good drives they get.
You get pretty good with looking at your schedule and downloading the app and checking in for flights. That's a whole thing.
Well, that's good, except we've got like 20 pieces of gear with us all the time. So an online check-in doesn't work that well when you've got guitar cases and pedals. You've got to check in manually and kind of go to oversize and make sure it's all good.
Yeah.
So it's always a little tedious, that's for sure.
That's it. The amount of money that goes into being in a band, you know, without being too blunt, I'm not going to ask you about your bank accounts or like what money you've borrowed off family, that distant cousin who lent you 50 quid. But how have you done it, do you think? How have you been able to afford it?
I guess we've just been smart.
I think the fact that there's just 2 of us as well.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Like for the first, you know, 6 or 7 years of us touring, there was just 2 of us and, you know, maybe 1 other or 2 other people on the road with us. And I think that like tight, small crew definitely made things easier.
For sure.
Less hotel rooms, sharing beds, that kind of stuff cut a lot of costs that like made it, we could survive doing it. I think that helped out a lot initially for sure.
Yeah, definitely took us a long time to get any luxuries, I'd say.
Yeah.
We're pretty conservative with most of the coin, and like any money that we did get would just go straight back into the next tour or next show, and kind of always looking forward that way. And I mean, we still are really like we're not really taking much out of the pie. It's pretty much all going to the next thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a good way to look at it, and we're just like little mice that nip at the little water beadlets.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
And just live at home with your parents as long as you can.
Yeah,
as long as you can. Into your 50s, or if you can, do it. Because God, it really pays off.
If you can stand it.
Because that was the thing, like when we were growing up, like we were on tour like 6 or 8 months of the year. So like it really didn't make sense. We're only home for like Christmas, basically. Like it was kind of hectic.
And our parents live like 3 doors away from each other. So it just made sense. We could be closer anyway. We didn't have to travel when we got home. We were just together anyway. So
yeah, it worked out.
We got lucky in that sense for sure.
What do your parents think about what you do? Do they chat to each other about it?
I'd say they would, for sure. They've definitely been proud from the get-go. Like,
yeah, you must love it.
There's a bit of a because we started touring when I was just coming out of high school, doing my like high school certificate. So that was a bit of a like, you know, got the stern chat from mum and dad being like, don't blow it because you're not going to make it into university. But I still got accepted, just never went. So that was good.
Hey.
But yeah, didn't really put much effort into it either. But yeah, I think like definitely got a couple of stern chats. But other than that, they've been proud of us and definitely supported us the whole way through. Like even still to this day, they're first ones to ask for tickets for the shows, and they're always on stage cheering us on. Zach's mum stage dives every now and then.
Fucking blaggers. Blaggers everywhere.
I know. Yeah. Oh, they've earned it, I guess.
That's it.
After all that free rent.
I often think like, and no matter what you're doing, no matter where if you're working a job down the down like a local place, or you're traveling with your job. I think everyone needs support, like emotional support, like friends that you could ask advice for and be like, do you think this is a good idea, but that bad idea? Who are the people in your lives who you've got advice from? Is it other bands? Is it pals that don't play music?
I guess it's a little bit of both. I think, especially when we were starting, we had a lot of kind of older bands. Our manager, Dan, played in some bands, still does, that were, maybe 5 or 6 years ahead of us, kind of, they'd been around a little bit. Started playing shows with them. They became good friends of ours, and we'd always kind of go to them for guidance. And even if we didn't ask for it, they would definitely give us some guidance and shove us in the right direction, which I think was good.
Which band is that?
I mean, like bands like Bad Dreams, DT Death Rays, Palms, a great group from Sydney. These kind of like Australian bands that we did like our first, Australian tours with, really helped us out, took us under their wing, gave us shows and, showed us how to kind of tour properly. And then you go home and you still kind of ask for life info off, your close mates at home and don't play music. But I guess it does get hard asking for advice from somebody who has no idea of what it's like to be in a touring band and travel that lifestyle. So it is good to have other bands and friends that like do the same thing that you can kind of lean on and ask some questions.
I feel like it's always on tour that you have those like D&Ms with other bands. Like you're always just like, what are we doing? Like, how are you doing this? What am I doing? Like,
you kind of like explore everyone's way of touring and everyone shows you their little tricks of hanging on. It's great.
It is communication, isn't it? Like, not to get a little bit deep, but it is like, this is how society's been built, on people sharing and communicating and
definitely
like being part of it together.
Yeah. And that's the best part. I think like Australian, like the whole scene in Australia is just like everyone's kind of got everyone's backs. Like if you're on a tour, if you're at a show, at a festival, everyone's just like, how good is this? Like how lucky we are to be a part of it kind of thing. And everyone's kind of supporting each other and just backing each other, it makes it so much easier. Like you kind of see other places where it's a bit more neck and neck and you're trying to like push down the other person so you can get up ahead. But there's not a lot of that here, which is, I think that's such a great way to enter this industry, like just backing each other and just, especially like Zach said, when we were just those young pups, like coming up, we had the older dogs looking after us. And then turns out we're the old dogs now after 10 years. So hopefully we can pass on some good info to the next couple of bands. But
that's it. And why would there be competition? It's not like anyone's making a pretty buck. It takes a while and it's it's a slog, right?
It
doesn't just happen overnight for anyone.
That's it, for sure.
I think the fact that like the scenes here are just so much smaller, the population's so much smaller, so there really aren't that many people compared to everywhere overseas trying to be in bands and trying to really tour.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like almost a relief when you find a band of like 4 people you've never met that actually want to tour hard and do it. You're like, whoa, somebody else actually wants to do this.
Where do you think it came from you both? Was it like a love of, I don't know, for me it's like skateboarding and like building ramps, and that kind of turned into local gigs and that turned into touring, or like having that interest in it? Where did it start for you, do you think, that interest of like going full send with being in a band?
I think it was just the travel aspect for me, first of all, too. Really wanted to just love traveling. Like my parents took me overseas when I was younger and kind of loved just going around and seeing new places. So that was like the easiest way, the cheapest way to do it. And you really see some weird places, not many museums and stuff like that. When you go to Europe, you're mostly seeing some dingy dive bars and alleyways, which is really the fun stuff.
Big time.
Yeah, I think we had like a few years like prior to this band starting that we were just playing the local pubs, and kind of, that was how we established our love for just like playing music as well. And I think like just in that little short time before we actually kind of hit the road runner with this thing, was just like, even in that short time frame, met so many friends, like done so much in such little time, even though it was just locally. But like the first time that we drove to Canberra, like from us, it's like a 3-hour drive, which was massive for a gig. And I think just like that, holy shit, we're actually leaving Wollongong, like our home city, for a gig. Like just that feeling, like kind of like Grand Theft Auto when you like unlock the map. It's like you're going out and you're like, fuck, this wasn't even here before, but now it is. Yeah.
That
was, I think like we definitely had yeah, just that excitement.
Yeah.
And then it turned into just like energy to grind, I guess.
Keeping that feeling of being like, fuck, we've never done this before. I imagine that's quite addictive. And you're like, okay, what's the next one? What's the next unlock in the map?
Definitely. Yeah.
It kind of is, yeah, definitely. Trying to find new places to play, new venues. It's endless fun.
Rebuild, repeat. You know, listening to the lyrics, and the lyrics are quite introspective and they're quite real, but in a very like approachable way. And everyone's talking about feelings and mental health, and like the world is pretty shite now, and it's pretty good that people are talking about it. But there's a lot of like kind of personal like touch points on Rebuild, Repeat. Is that something, Zach, that you kind of like as a lyricist? I mean, maybe you write lyrics as well, Billy, but as lyricists, have sort of your experiences in the band kind of pushed you in that direction? Have you used real life experiences that I imagine, you know, you're in the band 24/7, so it makes sense that the lyrics reflect your experiences there? Yeah,
there's definitely been some tunes. I mean, this record, I mean, a lot of the experiences on this record were more based around being at home, not so much being in the band touring, because when this stuff was kind of written, we weren't really touring that much. It was in kind of a dead zone during COVID, just after COVID. So a lot of this was more just at home gear. But over the years, yeah, a lot of like, you know, that feeling of being on tour and writing songs in different places is kind of fun as well. You kind of challenge yourself to like, oh, I'm in this random place, let's try and write something here, and just set yourself up little goals. But there's definitely been a few songs along the last few records that have kind of, I mean, Homely Feeling is obviously one off our second record that kind of like talks about being away and traveling and, you know, longing for that home. And I think this record was more so observing stuff around the house, you know, what was going on in the home life, touching base with some of that gear. But a lot of those, like, I guess Dancing on the Other Hand kind of goes into like some weird, you know, feelings of kind of some burnout from, you know, being on the road and just being tired, and that stuff creeps in all the time. But I mean, that's kind of always the way it is.
It's funny how home life can change. I'm 33, and only in the last 5 years have I like settled in my gaff. You know, I live somewhere that I can afford, but I also love it. You know, I can make myself iced coffee in the morning, and I'm like, damn, I feel good. You know, I didn't feel good for most of my 20s. I felt pretty bummed out. And it's like, so getting older and realizing you can kind of implement these pretty simple changes that build up and kind of add to a better life kind of thing. You know what I mean? Have either of you had that growing up and taking home life a bit more like, oh, I can do things that improve my life?
For sure. Yeah.
For sure. I think it was like just that thing of like, I don't know, being away on tour, you're kind of you're always longing for home. And then like we've only got like a certain amount of time at home. So I think like the more that you go away, the more you appreciate that little pocket of time you've got at home. And over the years, it like just the way that you treat your home life just gets, I don't know, like you said, like you just take more time for yourself and like what's actually important, because you're only here for 2 months and then you got to piss off again. So I think like just having that little moment, and then obviously, yeah, like even like you said, in the past 5 years, it's been crazy. I feel like we've gone centuries, not like just 5 years, you know what I mean? Like in terms of how much has changed. And yeah, I think just in general, everyone's just kind of being like, all right, what do I actually like to do? What do I need? Just, you know, which is good. I think it's, good way to replenish the soul anyway. Nothing like an iced coffee to do that. That's the perfect way to do it.
And that's a great point. Like people are realizing, oh, what do I actually want to do? And like, I am in control of it. You know, you're not in control of much, but the little things you are in control of, you can try to really kind of grasp it.
Yeah.
101, 101, part-time jobs, 101, 101, 101, part-time jobs. 101 part-time jobs. A lot of people in bands have worked little side hustles, got fired a bunch of times, burnt some bridges from the local pizza place that you can no longer work at next time. What are your stories of working jobs between tours?
Okay. Yeah. Initially I was working I was a lifeguard at like a theme park, a water park. I was doing that for a couple of years early on between tours. That was kind of fun. That was good. That was a good job, man.
Brilliant.
They were pretty flexible. And then I fucked that one up because I flew back from Adelaide, Australia, back to Sydney. Oh no, sorry, no. I was flying back from the US. I thought, I was getting in on the 14th of July, let's say, whatever. And when I flew out, I forgot that you cross the international date line, so I didn't actually get there till the day after, and I had work scheduled. And they're like, "What are you doing?"
That's only one day. It's only one day.
Only one day. But the final nail in that coffin was actually hanging out with Bad Dreams, who we just talked about in Adelaide, and we've been partying all night. And then I woke up at maybe 7:30 in the morning to work, calling me. You're like, "Where are you?" I'm like, "Oh man, I'm in Adelaide. Sorry." And that was kind of it.
I'm hours away.
I didn't get invited back after that.
Did he save any lives as a lifeguard at the swimming pool at the theme park?
I did. Yeah, I did actually. I had to do it a bit. It was a lot of work. It wasn't mucking around.
Yeah, that's serious business. Like, you got to be there in the moment and stay focused. And you're a professional. You're a doctor of the waters.
Yeah, I'm a hero. I don't want to, total hero.
Anyone would have done it, right? Anyone would have done it.
Exactly.
How about you, Billy?
So that's kind of it.
Oh, sorry, Zach.
Yeah, Bill, what do you got?
Well, yeah, in terms of working, I guess man, when I was coming out of school doing the just going into the tour, I was just like a dish pig at a local restaurant. But I was going pretty well. Yeah, dish pig. Yeah,
I've heard that before. That's funny.
Yeah, so
Good Aussie.
I was actually on my way up though. I was climbing the ranks. I got to what is it? Kitchen hand.
Yeah.
Way more responsibility. Yeah, that's when you have to make the pancake mix and slice up the avocados the right way. It was a kind of a bougie joint. But anyway.
Were you getting respect from the chefs? Were they offering you a line of speed?
I wasn't getting to that point, eh? I think I was still 17, so they were probably.
This was a breakfast place, right? As well.
Yeah.
Strictly breakfast.
I'm a big breakfast guy. I could eat bacon and eggs every morning.
Oh yeah, mate. That's all they had, and pancakes, pretty much. Yeah. But no, it was pretty much, that was about it. Like, that was probably the last official job I've had, and then since then, just been doing I do graphic design, so that's kind of an easy one to do in between. Like, if you need.
Do you design stuff for the band?
Yeah, I've done a bunch for the band over the years. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, still to this day, on the computer every day.
T-shirt designs, record covers.
Yeah, that's it. And just especially the way that it is now.
Yeah, all the records.
Yeah.
A lot of posts.
You've done all the records, Bill.
Yeah.
Quality.
Yeah, but it's been just today's how it is. It's just you have to go on the computer to do your socials and promoting and marketing and all the mailing lists and stuff. There's just so many little things that are it's all tied into that design world. So I'm pretty flat out doing that at the moment. But back in the start, I used to just fit in a few other people's bands, and a few friends still hit me up. Yeah. I designed for a mate's chippy company.
Nice.
Yeah, buddy, carpentry and waterproofing, if you ever need a bloke. I know a guy.
Carpentry and waterproofing. Yeah, I do fucking need that.
Good combo.
I've got in my windows here, they've got a millimeter either side of the glass. You get rained on in the night. I need someone to sort that out. It's bullshit. That's good. I mean, you've got to be sustainable. I mean, that's it. I think this conversation about how bands operate, it's no one's going to swoop in and work for you for free. Anyone who does do website design or graphic design, that's money. So you might as well learn it yourself. And in that sense, kind of all bands are kind of punk rock because you have to.
Yeah, that's it. And I think it's such a good way to influence. I don't know. Everyone's got their band, and you want your band to look a certain way. There's always that avenue, and it's if you can do that yourself and you know exactly what you want, then that's sick. Just use the tools at your hands, So it's really good.
And actually, you can get inspired but like even if you're not pop, even if you're like a pretty crusty band, like you can look to Billie Eilish or like Taylor Swift and be like, those are people who they are taking it in their own hands, and like it seems like no one else has a bigger vision of what they're doing than themselves. That's a big inspiration.
Definitely. I think like that's always looking at those kind of bands and how they like release stuff and stuff. Like I think it was like what Charlie XCX killed me the other day, like with that record artwork. Are you kidding? Like you put so much effort into an album artwork and then that happens. You're like, fuck, what a genius.
And like, the record sounds so good. And that's the kind of, it kind of flips on itself. Yeah. Because you're like, okay, mad artwork. Sure. You put it on, you're like, damn, this is good. And all of a sudden the artwork doesn't matter.
That's it.
And it's like, exactly. It's like she's pranked us. She's hoodwinked us into a great record.
That's it. It's like, I think just when you see stuff like that, you just go, what? Like, that is so cool. Like music videos, everything, like, you know, it's just, and merch too. Like that's a big one as well. Like just looking at everywhere you look, there's some inspiration. Just got to figure out how to put it to use, I guess.
In Australia, you get bands like Violent Soho. You see Violent Soho t-shirts in London all the time. And it's like, if you've got a cool design, if you've got a cool vibe going on, people will wear your stuff. And that means that puts a couple of quid in your pocket as well.
Oh, definitely. Hey. And then it gets to the point where it's like AC/DC merch and it's like sold off as like its own entity. And then it's just everywhere.
Yeah, that's it. Do a Jello Biafra. Didn't Jello Biafra, didn't Dead Kennedys have their own screen printing warehouse? Yeah. They really took it seriously.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, it's crazy. Having a whole separate company just for merch is incredible. It's so wild.
Make more money doing that than playing music.
Probably. Yeah, really. It's nuts. Yeah.
Hey, Billy and Zach, thanks so much for chatting. The record's awesome. Great vibe to it. And you're about to go on tour with Military Gun, who are sick.
Yeah. Buzzing. Yeah, it's going to be nuts. Like, yeah, I haven't seen them live yet. Have you seen them live, Zach?
No, I haven't seen them yet either. No.
Yeah, so I'm just buzzing to see him 3 times in a row. So that'll be great.
Ian Shelton's got a good jump on him. He's got some good steady knees, that guy.
Hell yeah.
young knees.
He's a young man. That's what happens when you come from hardcore.
That's it, eh? The knees are bouncing.
I was listening to the Bel Air Lip Bombs record as well. That's awesome. How do you know those lot?
Bel Air are like basically young band from down in Melbourne. Our manager Dan looks after them as well. So they've kind of been like, just put that record out like middle of last year, and it's just a banger. It was like my favorite record of last year. So they did a few shows with us late last year on like a regional Australian tour. So now they're going to do a few more. They've been doing the shows on the Oz tour with us now.
Yeah.
But they've been killing it. And I think they just got back from the Great Escape. They're over there a few months ago. Yeah, had a good time over there.
Awesome.
Yeah, they're awesome.
So it's a stacked tour. Nice one. That's part of it, because it's all about the fans, right? And I know that sounds a bit cliche to say, but when you're putting up a lineup, when you're putting together a lineup, it's like, okay, how do we make this the best show possible so that people like me and everyone else can come along and have a great fucking night? That's what it is.
Totally. That's what we're in the business of. Yeah.
That's it. You don't want any skips on a night out.
Yeah.
Hey, nice one. Thank you very much. Just for a last question, what's the thing you'd love to do in the next couple of years? If it's, Zach, you're saying about traveling, if there's one place you'd love to visit, one band you'd like to tour with, one person to like feature on a track, what's something that you'd love to do? Maybe something that's already in the works.
I would love to go to Japan. Haven't been there yet. Would love to do a tour there, experience that.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. South America. Japan, South America. That's kind of like the ones I want to go now.
Want to do the proper like world tour spec where it's like just hit everywhere that we've never been. I think that's make the most of it, you know.
Southeast Asia too. I mean, Southeast Asia is kind of having a little bit of a boom now. People are going there playing shows. The shows look great. Want to hit there, spend some time over there. It'd be awesome.
So there was Hockey Dad here on 101 Part-Time Jobs. Their new album, Rebuild Repeat, is out now, and you can catch them on tour in the UK across September, all through September, supporting Ocean Alley. Tickets are available now. Cheers for listening. Thank you to our small team that make this go round, and thank you for our sponsors, without whom this wouldn't be possible. DistroKid. is the solution for you and your band to put out your own records. If you're an artist, doesn't matter where you are, doesn't matter who you are, you can use DistroKid to get your music on Spotify, Apple, Instagram, YouTube, all the rest of it. All you need to do is pay a yearly fee and you'll be making all your own royalties. Sign up at distrokid.com/VIP/101pod and get 30% off your first year and join 1 million other artists doing the same thing. That's distrokid.com/VIP/101pod and get 30% off your first year at DistroKid.
101 Part-Time Jobs is hosted by Giles Bidder and produced by me, Olivia Swash. This has been a Mighty Moon Media production.